All right,
Recording?
looks like we're rolling. Hello, everyone. My name is Faisal. I'm a student of Oklahoma State University, taking the individual and organizational behavior course this semester with Dr. Howard. I have my former colleague. I'll let him introduce himself. He's a superintendent now, and I'd like to ask him a few questions for this interviews. But I'm gonna give him the floor first to introduce himself, talk about the job he does, and then we'll move on close to the interview portion. Austin.
Yeah. Yeah. My name's Austin Hansen. I've worked for Hewitt, a corporation that I'm a superintendent for about 6.5 years. Currently on a project up in Kittery, Maine for the Navy. We are working on their shipyard, building them dry docks for their nuclear submarines. Project started back in 2021 and is scheduled to be there in 28, done in 2028. And I've been here for about 2 years, and this has been my first year as a leader, a superintendent, and I have a crew of about 3 engineers and then 6 to 7 mechanics on site.
Awesome, awesome. So let me start with how how do you ensure open and effective communication with your team?
So I think the biggest thing is with open communication with the team is helping them understand that we are basically people that are needing to be open communicating in the way that everyone can feel safe in what they say, whether it's they're trying to talk about something that's wrong or they feel like something can be better. One thing I always encourage is other ideas or better processes or ways to innovate our things. So I oftentimes will go and talk to the mechanics, to my engineers and everything, and then I mean, there's always a standard to do,
Yeah.
but making sure they understand that there are ways to innovate and make things better. And I'm more than open to hear that when it comes to the communication. Of course, communicating being the biggest thing when it comes to our day to day to make sure our tasks are getting completed.
Yeah, absolutely. That really boosts like confidence and motivation and ethics to your work, your daily to your work. So that's awesome. Let's move on to the next one. How do you recognize and reward behavior that contribute to organizational success?
It's a good question. So one of the biggest things we have to do, and it may seem simple, but is just recognizing it is by privately, or if they want to be seen by our group, we always do what's called a like morning huddle and basically talk about the day. So oftentimes as a group we will recognize those who are following our procedures correctly or things that we're introducing that may be a bit more over the top for the mechanics, such as example of our procedures with thinking about before they go out to work on equipment. We do what's called a job hazard analysis. It's a big old huge piece of paper, and they need to fill it out. And so we will, as a group, look at those job hazards, pick the ones that were good, like the best for the week, basically, and the winners win a prize, whether that be safety bucks that they can go use on an online site to buy what they want, or we get them tools or gift cards or what have you, right? So, and then of course, I think with my guys, it's just when they do a good job, you need to recognize that not everything needs to be a correction. You need to be able to tell your guys, hey, like you guys are doing a good job and you're meeting my expectations. So helping them to understand when they are meeting expectations, exceeding, or if there is time for improvement. But that's kind of the way I roll about it.
That's awesome. Is there ways you foster like psychological safety within your team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, be an example, right? That's probably the biggest thing you can do. It's the biggest thing to do is what I'm doing is what I expect you to do. So whether that's wearing our proper PPE, whether that's following the procedures for the correct paperwork, whether that's going about and showing them, the hazards of what they need to be aware of for the tasks they're doing that day, whether that be marine work or fall protection because they're working at heights or et cetera. Just helping them understand that those things are there. And then also, of course, training, right? That's a big thing for fostering safety is maybe people don't understand the hazards. Maybe people don't understand what's going on around them or what they're supposed to be doing. And so we will find ways to introduce training, or every day in the morning we will talk about some kind of safety deal, and that's how we kind of create that training, that safety environment for them.
Nice. And have you ever had like any feedback from those training and like, how it could be changed, it could be like, proven better, as in like, like you mentioned hazard analysis, like do people complain about this being like, having to do too many paperwork or keeping tracks of this and like, how is the supervisor helping them filling out this analysis and are they being part of the team or is it like it's just another paperwork to fill out?
Yeah,
How is your
yeah.
team taking it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So here's a good example. Is we recently just had a new mechanic start, and he is not he's an outside hire, and so he did not know any of our processes. And at first, between me and another superintendent, we kind of just said, "Hey, go learn from this other mechanic, and learn the processes to fill out this paperwork, this job hazard analysis, etc." And when he came back and we saw the results of what he had filled out, you could tell he he needed more, right? He needed to understand more. So taking the time as a superintendent is very important, or just a leader in general, to really one-on-one or whatever these people need to train them. So we then took him aside, and instead of sending him right to work and putting him in more hazard because he just doesn't understand all the things that are involved, we sat him down for a few hours actually, and we walked through step by step, like, this is what we expect here, this is what we expect there. And then once we did that, I took that, an engineer of mine, and we created a training document, right? So we don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, but we do need to give them solid, consistent, and informational items when
Right.
it comes to training and safety. So.
Absolutely. And is there like we briefly talked about this before our call, but how do you think like any conflict between your team members or between yourself or a subordinate, like how would you handle that if there is a conflict arises?
So one thing I would say is we need to make sure we're working up the chains, right? Like, I expect my guys, if they have conflicts with, not with me, but with someone else, to first try to be adults and work it out themselves, right? I mean, we're all adults here. We can talk to each other. And then if it consists or it doesn't get any better, I expect the person having the conflict to come to me. And then I'll talk with them. I'll talk with the, call it, second party who they're conflicting with, and then we'll talk together, right? So it's a common thing where they each get their say, and then we come together, we come up with a solution of how we're going to do that. Now, if they're conflicting with me, which doesn't happen often, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. But if they are conflicting with me, we've just got to be open about why. Is it the methods? Is it personality? Is it something's missing? Something I'm not doing? Something I'm doing too much of? There's just different ways to do that, right? And then I think one of the
Right.
final things is you really got to be careful when you have those conflicts to keep it private, right? Like, don't be the rumor machine and be spreading all the gossip and, oh, hey, did you hear about that these two people aren't getting along, or those things just make it a toxic work environment. So keeping in mind that the conflicts are happening, but they don't need to be happening, or being known rather, amongst everybody.
That's very important. Now, we also talked about this briefly before our call, like our previous colleagues, teammates, and now that you are leading a team, how do you identify and develop potential leader within your organization?
So I think there's three things I look for in a potential, like, uprising person that could take on leadership a lot sooner than, say, a normal person within the company. And the first thing I always look for is drive. A drive to be more innovative, a drive to make things better, a drive to be, as I would call it, a game changer. Like, are they working on the processes and just doing the standard, or are they trying to find ways again to innovate? Are they trying to find ways to make that specific job better? We always have standards, we always have procedures, but there's always ways that projects, the operations, that your mechanics or your crew, they want to see things, right? So Are
Yeah.
they making those go, or are they just saying, hey, you know what, this is how it's done, this is the bare minimum, that's all I'm going to do? The other thing I look for is people that are hungry for more, right? I want people to be willing to do new things. I mean, of course, keep doing their day-to-day stuff, but I also want them to understand that they need to be looking to do new opportunities. So people that are volunteering themselves to do new stuff, they're hearing I need to do a task and they've never done it, and they let me know that, like, hey, I've never done that, but I would like to learn how to, and then doing those things, right? So those are kind
Right.
of the few things I look for when it comes to a potential call it rising star or rising superintendent in our role.
Great. Lastly, but more importantly, how do you earn the trust and fellowship of your team?
So I think one thing is being thorough and following up. So one thing that happens a lot is we promise to do certain things, or we tell them that a process is going to get better, or we tell them that we're going to do this better. They come in and complain and say, hey, communication was shit today and I feel like I couldn't get my stuff done. Instead of just talking and, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do better, we've actually got to do better. We've actually got to make a difference. So showing that, and you don't need to tell them, hey, this is why I'm doing this, but just showing them you're making a difference, and they'll let you know, right? They'll let you know
Right.
if that difference is being made. The other big thing is making sure that they understand that we are basically we're all doing this together. We're all a team, and remembering this is going to help us to, I would say the biggest thing is being able to, again, going back to that safety, right? That they know I'm going to do the right thing for them to let them go home safely at the end of the day. And if I don't feel comfortable with that, they can trust that I will stop, think, or replan the entire thing that we're about to do for the day if it just isn't making sense for them, safety wise, especially.
Right. Well, Austin, thanks for your time. Thanks for answering some of my questions. It will help me a lot, and hopefully this will help the team, people who are watching it, students who are my peers or future students that may find this topic and conversation interesting, and hopefully they'll learn something from it. Well, thanks again for your time. We'll be in touch.
All right.
Take
Thank you,
care now.
Faisal.
Thank you.